Okay, I'm back. So let's do this thing. I figured out, I don't know what happened with my laptop. It's like it froze and I couldn't get my document off of there, but I did remember that I had it on a web browser. So we're going to get started. Okay, so yesterday we went over um, identifying the root cause. Um, you know, we can't fix a problem if we don't know what started it or where it comes from or what's keeping it, from succeeding. Then we went over the power of the brain dump. So if you were on last night, I had you do a brain dump and list out things just for 5 minutes, what was in your head. I have my list right here, and I'm going to use that for today. And then we went over a few takeaways, and then we had some questions. Now, if you did do the exercise last night, then I asked you to prioritize your brain dump. So we were to list those as urgent, important, draining, or avoidant. So usually the avoidant one is something that's really been bothering you or triggering you for a long time, and you just don't have the mental capacity to take care of it or to handle it. So today is calming the chaos and finding momentum. So when you take your brain dump and use it um, to your good, then that's where you can start moving forward. So even though I did a brain dump, I've been doing brain dumps for a long time, and when I did my very first one, I was just crying through it because I had so many hard things that I needed to take care of, but I had been avoiding them for a long time, or they were just too hurtful to deal with. And but as I've done them over and over again, as I worked, categorized them and worked with the list over the years, my brain dumps get easier and easier for me to handle. So we're going to talk about some things that can help you work through your brain dump, especially when they're very painful and hard to handle. So we will. So what we want to do. So just welcome to my workshop. If you're here, just oops, I didn't want to go that far. Um, just put your name and where you're from in the comments. So we want to discover what's really holding you back and how you move forward with clarity and purpose. So today we'll be talking about, first of all, breaking through anxiety paralysis. So if you've had anxiety, um, like I've had anxiety where I've had a freeze response, I've had time blindness, I've had emotional spirals. So these are natural body responses to a high anxiety situation. So we're going to talk through each one of these. So on the freeze response, let me find it here because I had notes about each one of these. So the freeze response, um, I'm just going to check the next slide to see if I had something. Oh, no, I had the coping mechanism. Okay, so we'll just go here. Okay, so your freeze response. This is your nervous system hitting the pause button when you're under pressure. It's like your brain says everything's too much, so we're doing nothing. Like you're paralyzed. So you feel paralyzed by decisions, even simple ones. I mean, I knew I had to go get something at the grocery store, but I'm sitting there in the parking lot and I literally can't think, why was I here? Why did I drive the mire? What am I doing? So that's the freeze response. Or I've done all of these, trust me. And you may be doing some of these and not even realizing it, that you're avoiding something because it's going to cause you anxiety. You sit and scroll, you zone out, you go take a nap, not because you're lazy, but because your brain is overwhelmed. And your brain is like, give me a freaking break, person. You've got too much stuff going on for me. I can't handle it. Or you keep putting things off, not because you don't care, but because this is physically you can't get going. You feel you feel guilt or shame afterward. And so all this creates a cycle that just goes, and it can just keep going and going. And so that's what I mean by a freeze response. If you've had a freeze response in the past, raise your hand. I mean, because at one point or another, we've all done it. I mean, how many times have you sat and scrolled through your phone or on your laptop or something, and then an hour later, you're like, wow, what have I been doing? You've been busy scrolling, but you're not, your brain is like, I've got to do something other than what I'm supposed to be doing. Some common signs that you may know of are just, I stare at the wall for 2 hours. I've done that. I've laid in my bed and stared at the wall, you know, especially like on a Saturday, when I was at my other job, my husband would be working, I'd be home by myself, and I wouldn't do anything. I would just lay in bed most of the day. Sometimes I would get on my phone and scroll. Other times I would just lay there until I fell asleep, hoping I would fall asleep. That way I could say something like, I was so tired. I slept. So, you need to get it moved. You are frozen. That's because your brain is overwhelmed. And when we don't give our brain a rest, this happens. We get extremely overwhelmed. So now, the second one is time blindness. I did a podcast on this a few weeks ago because I struggle with time blindness really bad, and I was thinking that I had time to get a task done, and then like 2 weeks later, I hadn't gotten it done. I was almost done with it, but it was way past the deadline. So, time blindness is a struggle. It's when you struggle to perceive how long tasks will take, how much time has passed, or how close deadlines really are. A lot of people who have ADHD or ADD will have time blindness, and then people with anxiety and depression have time blindness. So, how does this affect our lives? Well, you underestimate or overestimate how long things take. So, you feel constantly behind. You may miss appointments. You may stay up too late. You forget how long you've been doing something unproductive. You may feel intense guilt for shame for wasting time without knowing where it went. Planning feels overwhelming or pointless because times feel slippery or distorted. So, how many's done that? If you're going to be honest with yourself, then you need to raise your hand if you've done that. Um, so make sure that. Oh, oh, okay. All right. So, where did some signs are that you may have time blindness is when you say, "Where did the day go? I thought I had more time. I was supposed to call them yesterday. I was supposed to upload my podcast last week, you know, and I was supposed to get this task done at work." I mean, it's happened to everybody. So that's time blindness. It sucks your life out, that's for sure. Okay, and then number three is emotional spirals. So these happen when your one triggering thought or situation snowballs into bigger and bigger emotions until you're completely flooded. Ooh. So, how it affects your life. A small mistake or moment of stress can turn into panic, shame, or self loathing. You might mentally rehearse worst case scenarios, arguments, or regrets over and over. I've done this so many times, especially when my boys were little. And a time I can think about very clear is when my oldest was 4. He just turned 4, and he was going to a preschool class, and the bus came to our house and picked him up. Now, because of where the school he had to go to, we lived over by Fairview School. I don't know if you know where I live, or Richmond, then you know what I'm talking about. So Fairview School, and he had to go to C.R. Richardson School. So we lived on the west side, and C.R. Richardson was over um, on the southeast side of town. So it's like the complete diagonal catty corner of the town. And so because it was so far away, he had to switch buses. And I'm telling you, every day I was an emotional wreck because I thought he was going to get on the bus, they were going to wreck, and or he was going to switch to the second bus and they were going to wreck. I mean, every day, this whole year he went to that preschool class, I had this catastrophic image in my head of my kid um, wrecking on the school bus, you know. So it really messed me up. But so, how does this emotional spirals affect our lives? A small mistake or moment of stress can turn into panic, shame, or self loathing. You might mentally rehearse worst case scenarios, arguments, or regrets over and over. Then emotional overwhelm leads to shutdown. So nothing gets done, which worsens your mood. I've been there. It can damage relationships, confidence, and your ability to focus or feel joy. Um, I did not feel any joy that year because I was made myself an emotional wreck. And so I could have felt joy if I just, was knew how to stop my mind from going down those spirals. So some common signs for emotional spirals is I can't stop thinking about that thing I said. So how many times have you said something that's hurt someone's feelings? I mean, I'm on the top of the list. I've hurt so many people's feelings, it's not even funny. I mean, nobody's laughing. So I'm spiraling and I don't know how to stop. Why do I always mess things up? So if you're, having bad moments and you keep messing things up in your life, I mean, you're going to be on that emotional roller coaster and you're not going to be able to stop. So let's continue on. So, how they work together. And these three patterns work together and they can make your life much harder. So, these three patterns feed into one another. So, your freeze response prevents actions, and creates overwhelm that leads to emotional spirals. Time blindness makes tasks and responsibilities pile up. It triggers a freeze or a shame spiral. So when you're time blindness, you realize you didn't get your stuff done. And so then you've got more stuff to get done. That will trigger a freeze or shame spiral. You could be like, I'm so overwhelmed, I can't do anything. Or you could be, I'm just so mad at myself for not getting this done. Then you start beating yourself up inside. So emotional spirals increases anxiety. It makes planning harder and a trigger, so it could trigger a freeze or procrastination again. So, I mean, that's just what's happened to me. And when I look back on my life as a young adult and I saw where there was high stress points in my life, where one of these three was always there. And it really, it really messed up my life, as an adult, because I didn't know how to get out of that. So the good news is, these are patterns, not um, failures. So each one of these is a nervous system or brain reaction, not a reflection of your worth or willpower. And so, with the right tools and routines, what we want to do is interrupt this cycle and begin to function with more self compassion and calm. So, you got to give yourself grace, give yourself some compassion for this. And you got to learn to become aware of when it starts to happen or when it's happened. Usually, when you first start trying to notice these things, you notice it after it's happened. And then the next time you try to notice it, when you're in the middle of it, you're like, oh, I am doing this freeze thing here. And then as you keep practicing, you start to notice it before it happens. And then you can alternate the response so that you don't keep getting in that spiral. Okay, so how did these, we have coping skills that are tools that we can learn. So, the power of coping tools. So, I try to find something where you're using tools and you're making something. And so, I found these two little pictures here. Um, so, they have what they call the 5 4 3 2 1 coping or grounding technique. This is dear Jesus, quick tool to calm anxiety and bring you back to the present moment when you're spiraling or disassociating or stuck in your head. So I know a lot of people that use this and it helps them with a lot. And what it does, it like redirects your mind, or distracts you from what is happening in the moment. Okay. So how do you do it? So, 5 things you can see. So, you look around and name 5 things you can see. So, I can see my phone. I can see my Bible. I can see my lamp. I can see my little green frog here. um, I can see my pen. Okay. 4 things you can feel. So, pay attention to what you're physically touching. Um, I can feel the paper on my notebook. I can feel the the ring on my phone because it's kind of like it's like fake diamond things. Um, I have a wreath, dear Lord, an ornament, and it's very textured. One of the ladies in our church hand painted this. She's so talented. So anyway, I can feel the texture on that, and then one more, which is this special little. I can feel this. This is an ornament my grandma made when she was in her nursing home before she passed away. So I keep that on my desk because it's special to me. So those are 4 things. Now, what is 3 things you can hear? Listen closely and name 3 sounds. So I can hear the fan over here. I can, well, hear myself talking. And then my cat's over here making a noise. So those are 3 things I can hear. 2 things you can smell. This one can be hard. If you can't smell anything, name a smell you like or go grab something. So um, I'm very as I get older, I'm very sensitive to smells. So, but I don't smell anything up here. Um, but one of the things I like to smell is one of our cats, Gordy. He is a clean freak. And for some reason, when I pick him up and smell his fur, he smells like laundry detergent. I I can't understand it. That's what it smells like to me. Um, and a second smell that I like, um, I do like coffee being made. So I like the smell of coffee. And then the last one is one thing you can taste. So name what you're tasting right now. Or take a sip or something, even a mint or gum helps. So I have my soda here. It's a root beer. So that's what it tastes like. So that is a grounding technique. It just brings you, because it redirects your mind. You got to find five different things, four different things, three, two, one. So it takes your mind off of that spiraling mindset that you might get stuck in. So when do you use it? During an anxiety spike or a panic attack, when you're feeling emotionally overwhelmed or you feel frozen in the moment. Or you can also do it before you start doing something difficult that you know is going to be hard for you to stay focused on. So we did this together. And okay, so let's do the second one. Okay, so the second one is the 5 minute, the just 5 minutes rule. So, this is a behavioral tool that helps override avoidance and overwhelm. You don't commit to doing the full task, just starting it for 5 minutes. I've done this. So, it actually helps, especially when, like over here, I've got a table. I used it as a makeup, getting ready for my podcast table. And, but I have piled stuff on it. So, I need to set the timer for 5 minutes and just put away as much as I can or throw whatever I can away. So, how do you use this? So, you pick a task that feels too hard, like cleaning, emailing, walking, getting out of bed. Say to yourself, I'm just going to do 5 minutes. Set a timer, start slowly. After 5 minutes, you can stop, but often momentum kicks in and you might continue without pressure. Usually what happens is I turn the timer off and I just keep working for a little bit longer. So it really works. So when to use, or why does this work? It reduces the pressure of finishing, because when we see a task before us, we think of everything we got to do to get to the finish line. And sometimes that's just too much for our brains, especially people with anxiety or depression. This helps your brain experience a small win and a dopamine boost. So sometimes when you have like not done anything for a long, long time, getting that small win in will help you boost, make you feel good about yourself and get that dopamine boost, and you'll want to keep going. It also builds trust with yourself. I did something hard, even if it was tiny. So calling that person that you haven't talked to in a long time, especially if maybe you've had um, not nice words between each other. You could use that 5 minute. I'll just call and talk to them for 5 minutes, you know, or I need to start walking. I'll just walk for 5 minutes. So my coach, she always uses this analogy when she was struggling getting out of bed every day and uh, getting through her depression. She decided that, you know what, I'm just going to walk to the mailbox. And her mailbox was at the end of their lane, but it did take a minute to get there. So she started doing that. And then she started doing that every day. And before long, she was doing other things besides just going to the mailbox. And so you just have to find something like that in your life that is small, but something that you can get done and you'd be like, hey, I went to the mailbox today, you know. So when should we use this just the 5 minutes rule? When you're procrastinating. So if you're a lifelong procrastinator, raise your hand. That's me. Like I said, I am all of these things here. That's why I'm, going over this stuff with y'all so that you won't go through it like I did for the longest time. When you're so you use it when your depression makes everything feel impossible, or when anxiety makes you freeze before starting something. So yeah, um, definitely me. So if the whole task feels like too much, just tell your brain we're only doing it for 5 minutes. No pressure, no outcome needed, just motion. And start your timer. Turn the timer on and then just do things for 5 minutes. So, oh, I didn't realize it had switched. I was just waiting for it to switch. I was like, oh, it's not switching. Okay, so this one is gentle exposure to feared task. Oh, yeah. So I would have to use this one if I wanted to like jump out of an airplane or something. So, this is a step by step way to reduce the fear of dread around tasks that feels like overwhelming or emotionally charged, like calling someone. And Oliver, you don't have to have your camera on, bub. I can't. So, can you hear me okay? Oh, he went away. Uh, okay. So opening mail, going outside. So, I mean, yeah, if you're someone who's afraid to go outside, I can see you, but I can't hear you. Maybe he can see my comment. So I did something different when I scheduled this podcast. So I don't know if he's going to be able to. So there we go. Okay. Alrighty. Um, so how do you break something down into tiny, tolerable steps so that you can get that task completed? So opening of your fear. This is such a good example because when I was first um, divorced and I had to take care of my own bills. Okay. And I had to take care of my own bills. Okay. Like I mean, when I was married, my husband helped me, but then I'm out on my own with 3 kids. And if I forgot to pay something, I would not open up the bill. Like I wouldn't open it up at all. So I wish I had this back then because it would have saved me a lot of heartache. I mean, we all know what happens when you don't open your bills and you don't pay them. They turn your stuff off, or um, they come and take something away from you. I mean, and it was just because I was afraid. I know this sounds like so childish and silly, but it's true. So they're suggesting to break it down into these small steps. Step one, find the stack. You know it's the stack of unopened bills, okay? It's not just one, it's a stack. Um, Step two, sit with it for 2 minutes. I'm sorry, this is making me laugh because I've been here so many times. Um, Open one envelope. No, I don't want to open one envelope. Are you kidding me? So, um, read it without reacting. Oh, without reacting. Yeah, it's overdue, people. I know. And then write one action step. So, one action step would be, oh, I better call the utility company so they don't shut off my utility. So that would be an action step that you would write. And they're saying to celebrate each step as a win. Even just looking at the thing without avoiding it is progress because now you can start to do something about it. And I don't do this as bad as I used to. When I first got remarried, my husband was like, "Why haven't you paid this bill?" And I'm just like, I don't know. I didn't open it up. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I had trouble with that. I had so many troubles with that. I mean, it's silly. It was silly to me, but it did cause me a lot of stress. Um, and I can't even explain why, really, that was such an avoidant thing for me at that time. But over the years, I got better at it, and not avoiding that situation. So, when to use this coping tool? So, you'll use it with tasks you've been avoiding for weeks or months. And when fear spirals, stop you from taking action. And when shame keeps you stuck. So, yesterday I talked about painting my bathroom. I should probably use this and get my bathroom painted because finally we have a nice bathroom after having it remodeled. All it needs is painted. That's all it needs. So, so you think of something you've been avoiding out of fear. Now ask yourself, what's the tiniest first step that you can take that doesn't feel scary, but still moves you forward? So hopefully Oliver, who joined me, will answer that question. So I wonder what things I have a suggestion what Oliver is afraid to do, and he's been avoiding it. Um, just 2 minutes. Yeah, sit with it for 2 minutes. I didn't see his comment till now, but so Oliver, what do you think I'm thinking about? The one thing I want you to do that you've been avoiding. So maybe he'll answer us. Um, the thing of it is, you don't have time to fix everything. You just have time to do the next thing. So, and that's all we care about. All right. No idea, to be honest. Oh, I know. I want you to get your driver's license so that you can drive. That's what I want. And find him a wife. That's another one. And have grandkids. That's number 3. See, these are my goals for my son. And but he's got completely different goals. He'll probably come back with a remark. So okay, let's go to the next one. So the good news, these patterns are not personal failures. So each of these is a nervous system or brain reaction, not a reflection of your worth or willpower. And so with the right support, tools, and routines, you can interrupt the cycle and begin to function with more self-compassion and calm. And I found a quote from Dwayne Johnson, who has, I mean, he had a tough life growing up, and then but he rose to stardom as a wrestler, and now he does acting and other things. So you're not alone. You're not the first to go through it. You're not going to be the last to go through it. So it's true. I'm not the only one that goes through depression and anxiety. You're not the only one that goes through depression and anxiety. So, but however, maybe something I've done will help you in the future. So that's why I'm doing this free workshop. So what we want to do is plan, planning with compassion, because you need to have some um, grace for yourself. So you choose something that feels stuck or overwhelming, and you pick one. Don't pick the whole thing, okay? The whole list. You just want to pick one thing that you're stuck on. And number two is ask, what's the first visible step I can take? Yeah. Okay. So if Oliver wants to get to the B&B, what's the first step that he can, the visible step that he can take? So obviously he doesn't have his license, so he doesn't already have a car. So he can ask somebody for a ride. So exactly, ask his mother to drive him there. That's me. So then you look for an action that you can see or touch, not just get motivated. So when, for instance, when we have a dirty kitchen, we don't say, yes, I'm your mother. So we don't say clean the kitchen, okay? Instead, we want to say something small that says take the dirty dishes off the counter and put them in the sink. So that's something small. And you get them off the counter, and the counter is going to look a lot nicer. And then step three is use the support tools for each step. So if you're frozen in a moment, you could use the freeze response or the grounding technique. Um, so one of those that will help you move on to the next step. So support tools can help you get motivated. So pair each small step with something that calms or motivates you. So when I was growing up, when we cleaned our house, we would always turn the music up loud, and it would keep us motivated in cleaning. Um, you can set a timer so you can clean something for 5 or 10 minutes at a time. Listen to music or podcast. Pet talk or body double. Do it with someone on FaceTime. So, um, I think I mentioned this yesterday, but when my sister and our kids were younger, we would call each other when we needed to get some house cleaning done. And we would talk and hold the phone like this and clean our house. And we wouldn't stop talking until we were done. And this thing keeps popping up. Anyway, so we would do that for hours. And by the time we would get off the phone, we'd gotten everything done that we needed to do. And we didn't even realize it because we had preoccupied our mind with talking, to each other. Then reward yourself after the task. So, um, we would go, take the kids to the park to play or whatever. So, step four is celebrate micro. Then they talked for hours more. Yes, we would talk for even longer. But the kids didn't mind because they were playing together with their cousins. Step 4, celebrate micro wins. So even one step success, it trains your brain to trust yourself again. I take action even when I'm overwhelmed, or progress counts more than perfection. So it just helps you get past that task that you don't want to do. And and then it helps you kind of keep your mind off of it while you're doing it so that it gets done. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. So, wrapping up. So, I don't think anyone's on here that was here from the night before, but I was here on the night before. And so, one of the things that I did with this brain dump that I did was I realized there was some things that had been bothering me that I put down on my list. So, I'm going to use my brain dump to get some of these things done. So, what's one tool or insight you're excited to try next? I think for me that the next time I start to have an anxiety attack, that I'm going to do the grounding technique where I find 5 things that I can see, 4 things I can touch, 3 things that I can smell. Oh, wait a minute. No, 3 things I can hear, 2 things I can smell, and 1 thing I can taste. So I think that if I can do that for my next anxiety attack, not that I'm planning them ahead of time, but they do happen. I think that will help me. So, Oliver, would you try that anxiety technique where it helps you redirect yourself? I don't know if he's still listening or not. Let me just check my notes, make sure that. So, with these support tools that I've explained to you, the celebrate your micro wins. Hold on here. I'm trying to scroll up. Um, Using something like the support tools, like a timer, or listening to music or podcast, or pep talk, or body double, or the celebrate the micro wins. Why does those things work? Um, Especially people who have depression and anxiety. And what it does actually, it removes the emotional weight of doing everything at once. And that's where we get a lot of our overwhelm, is from doing it, knowing that we have to get everything done. So these methods works better with our nervous system, and it's not working against it, it's working for it or with your nervous system. It also builds momentum, which increases your dopamine hits and your motivation. Plus, it reduces the shame and pressure that we put on ourselves for not getting something done. Okay, so I think that is everything for tonight. And of course, like I said yesterday, I have been helping people and coaching with them. Let's see, I do fear the killer chant from Frank Herbert's Dune. It surprisingly works. I don't even know how to respond to that remark. So anyway, he just wants to make me laugh. But read more. No, He just wants an excuse to read more books. No, that's not what I'm saying. I want you to come up with a plan to get your driver's license, buddy. Okay, so like I said yesterday, I have been a life coach and helping people, and I currently have two clients. And so, if some of these, you feel like some of these techniques would be something that would help you, then you need to reach out to me. You can reach out to me on Facebook. My Facebook page is going to be okay. And then you can email me at Nikki Asher Bowling Coaching at gmail.com. So it's NICKYASHERBOWLING coaching, COACHING. So right now I'm offering free sessions for people, and just so that you can see what it's like to work with me and how beneficial it is to you. Uh, like I've said over and over in my podcast, anything that I talk about is not just something, it's not hearsay. These are things that I practice and use all the time and on a daily basis. So, hopefully, this has been helpful for you, and I would love to hear back. Thank you very much, and I'll see you later. Bye.